watch a Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing it with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a
this,
ref,
his hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's about that time, the rise and grind on the Early Line on a beautiful Tuesday morning after the sports equinox. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri. And over the next 2 hours, we got you covered, as you know, on all the hottest topics, which includes a Major League Baseball game that just ended, it feels like, a few minutes ago. Did they play 2 games? They might as well. 18 innings last night in Los Angeles to see the Los Angeles Dodgers come away with a 6-5 victory because Freddie Freeman, that's why. That man is clutch, and he got the business done last night. Did you also watch in Kansas City? Really a sleeper in that game. 28-7 final. Kansas City wins 3 second-half touchdown passes for Patrick Mahomes. Easily dispatches of the Washington Commanders. The NBA was on fire with points, and more points. Joe, this is what we do. We get the people caught up to date because if you didn't watch last night, we got you covered.
We absolutely have you covered. And believe me, I watched right up until about 3 hours ago here, Donnie. So it's going to be a fun morning. I am raring to go because guess what? We got even more going on here over the next 24 to 48 hours. So there's no sleep here, Donnie, this time of year. You know that.
No sleep till Brooklyn. And by the way, for the people out there that say, baseball's an old-timers game last night. What, did you enjoy that NFL snooze fest? Or did you stay up and watch 18 innings on the edge of your seat? Let's get caffeinated, Joe. What do we got?
Yeah, Donnie, you're spot on there. Yep. All right. So I didn't go to bed until 3 o'clock in the morning, but here we go. Because today is for anyone, Donnie, I mean anyone who still has the audacity or the unmitigated gall to tell me how baseball is so boring. Well, if you watched Game 3 of the World Series last night, you're probably still sleeping right now because it just ended 3 hours ago here. And if you weren't on the edge of your seat, sweating, heart pounding, you need to check your pulse, Donnie, because you might already be dead. What did we just see here a couple hours ago? 18 innings, 6 hours, and 39 minutes of pure, uncut baseball nirvana, sports nirvana, if you will. This wasn't just a game. This was a epic poem written on a baseball diamond. It had everything. If you want storylines, here's a couple for you. You had Shohei Ohtani reaching base, a World Series record 9 times in this game. This guy is not human, Donnie. It is a Halley's Comet watching this guy hit bombs that might still be orbiting the Earth, in fact. And if you want drama, how about Clayton Kershaw, all 86 years old of him, a living legend, coming out of the bullpen in the 12th inning with a bases-loaded situation and 2 outs, and what does he do? He shuts the door. That might be the last pitch, by the way, he ever throws. You've got to be kidding me. And if you want defense, you got to see some of these gems you had left and right in that game. Guys getting thrown out at the plate. Tommy Edman making a barehanded play that saved the game. You had Varsho crashing into the wall into the 15th to make a catch. 7 guys thrown out on the bases last night, Donnie, in that game. Every single pitch felt like it was life or death. And if you want pitching, the Dodgers used, are you ready for this? A record 10 pitchers. Guys stepping up out of nowhere, Donnie. How about this kid, Will Klein? He goes 4 shutout innings in extra innings after, well, not throwing at all this year outside of what, maybe 12 or 13 innings all year. And he comes in and he throws 4 shutout innings in the biggest game of his life. That, Donnie, is October baseball. And then, of course, after just about 7 hours, Freddie Freeman's like, you know what? Enough is enough. And he sends one into the night. And the place goes absolutely crazy. So let me say it again. If you think baseball is boring, well, suck it, because you just missed the greatest championship game possibly played in any sport in any generation. This is why we watch it, Donnie. This is why we bet. It's moments like this. It's athletes like this. We are witnessing greatness, folks. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you soak it in, because it could be much worse, Donnie. We could be stuck watching, of course, you know who, play football every day of the week. Last night was magic, Donnie, and we should never, ever, ever forget it.
Never forget this, too. Shohei Ohtani was just let go as a free agent. No compensation back to the Los Angeles Angels, and let him go to the Dodgers, and he's turning in historic performances after historic performances. Shohei Ohtani, who is going to pitch tonight, we'll handicap that later, was on base 9 times last night in a World Series game. Absolutely incredible to watch this play out.
Unreal.
Let's get to the early lineup here. Some other hot topics across the sports landscape, which included the Kansas City Chiefs as roughly 10.5-point favorites in a total of 47.5. The Chiefs easily win this game. Why? Their defense is really good. A 7-7 tie at the half. 3 touchdown passes by Patrick Mahomes in the second half. 28-7 final. Kansas City revving up at 5-3 now.
Yeah, listen, this was all about the second half. The first half, give Washington credit, Donnie. The defense showed up. They showed out. It was a tie. It was a 7-7 game going to the break. And then, of course, they came out in the second half, adjustments made, and that was vintage Mahomes and Kansas City. I mean, he was absolutely perfect in the second half. 3 touchdown drives, and that was all she wrote at that point for Washington, who, by the way, just could not run the ball outside of Marcus Mariota running for his life.
Yeah, it looks like right now the Chiefs are exactly where we thought they would probably be without the record. They look like they're playing great football. They got a tough schedule, though, coming up. But a win last night on Monday Night Football certainly helps. And now we move it over to some injuries in that same division as the Kansas City Chiefs. And boy, that AFC West looks pretty good. Surtain, one of the best cornerbacks in football, he might miss up to a month or more with a pectoral injury. Not a good sign there for that team playing good football and maybe the best cornerback in the game.
Yeah, we saw it in the Cowboys game, Donnie. We were covering it on In-Game Live, and he went down in the first quarter, did come back into that game, and then eventually left again. It didn't look good. Wasn't sure if it was a shoulder or what it was, but pectoral's not great, and they are going to be a little less dangerous defensively without him on the field.
Carson Wentz, maybe his whole body needs to have surgery right now. He's going to be down for some time, ending his season, basically covering for J.J. McCarthy to get back from that high ankle sprain. McCarthy back as a starter, Wentz down to IR. And basically, look, you just have to gut things out. His entire body was injured and still trying to fight through it.
I mean, I give the guy credit. I mean, tough SOB here, because they didn't do him any favors. They got him absolutely killed under center. And guess what? Congratulations, J.J. McCarthy. You can't hide anymore. It's your turn to get absolutely boat raced because this offensive line is terrible.
I believe they have Detroit coming up this weekend. Good luck in that game there, J.J. McCarthy. By the way, 6-5 victory once again last night for the Los Angeles Dodgers in 18 innings, a walk-off home run by Freddie Freeman. But Shohei Ohtani, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 RBI, 2 home runs, including a double, and 5 walks last night. Superstars were all over. Freddie Freeman, the superstar of superstars. This guy just continues to be clutch. Walks it off for the Dodgers in 18.
Yeah, just like he walked it off in 18 against the Red Sox, not that long ago, Donnie. It's just some people are made for the spotlight here. So a lot to break down in this game, but my goodness, what a effort on both sides, Donnie, by the way. Not just the Dodgers, but Toronto as well.
The NBA addressing dire risks of gambling here. How about you just don't have players giving out information to their friends? Boom! Issue solved, Joe.
Yeah. How about you don't invite people to poker games that you know are rigged? And how about you don't get into bed with some of the shadiest of shady characters in the world? Huh? How about that, Donnie? Maybe put that in the headline.
When big scandals happen, the U.S. government wants to know what's going on in the scandal and can we get a piece of this scandal? Adam Silver is probably going to have to testify in front of Congress here.
Of course he is. And you'd expect nothing more than the grandstanding is going to be here for at least another month or so, Donnie.
Passing out pills on planes and that being very involved here. The Angels' ex-wife, or Angels' owner's ex-wife, yeah, they were aware of drug use. That sounds like a lot of money is about to change hands, Joe.
Ton of, and the more that comes out, the worse it gets.
Man.
So, yes, write the check and let it go away because it's not going to benefit anybody here.
Oh, my goodness, man. I just, when you have open-air drug markets in Major League Baseball, usually the owner and the team's going to pay the bill on that one. We got Spreadlines coming up on an action-packed show right here on the early line. Don't you dare go anywhere else.
They got to go win and execute, and they can't be inconsistent. And that's the thing. It's like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, really consistent. And then who is that fourth question mark? And there's been inconsistencies throughout. Hey, Michigan goes out to the West Coast and gets manhandled, and then they come back and then they win. Like, who's the consistent one that is the fourth?
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to have bet tracking for the first time. If you have a FanDuel account, you'll be able to track your bet on the Prime Video games. And tonight, if you are part of the ESPN Mega Content Service, we understand from an organization called Antenna that 2 million people at least have the ESPN Mega Content or Limited Service. You will be able to track your bets also on tonight's NBA coverage. So this is the beginning of a major new era for basketball on television.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Marchand said, they're all a bunch of dirtballs, so I fit in with them. You know what I mean? Remember, like, the Phillies baseball team, like with Kroc and Dykstra and all those guys? Like, yeah, they're just a bunch of dirtballs, right? And that's what the Panthers are. They're all the same. Like, they all like to drink. They're all tough. They're all dirty in the corner. You know what I mean? They'll all do whatever it takes to win, but that's why they've won 2 cups in a row.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
For him and Cignetti are the most Spurrier-like personalities, Spurrier-like head coaches, and Cignetti's locked up. And you know what? And Ole Miss could very well lock Lane Kiffin up, but he will always be a fighting under. At Ole Miss, you will always be a little bit of an underdog because of your play. At Florida, you don't ever have to be an underdog because of their resources.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
Right back at it on the early line on a Tuesday morning right here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Donnie Rightside. He is Joe Ranier, and this is the time of the show we like to get to the spread lines. We take a look at some of the spreads and also the headlines of why you need to be involved in certain sporting events. Next sporting event we're going to talk about is a Saturday afternoon game. It's 12 o'clock kickoff, ACC style. The Miami Hurricanes taking on the SMU Mustangs. This line opened up, Joe, at 11.5. Some books as high right now as 12.5 and a total of 50.5. The Miami Hurricanes shook off that stink of that terrible defeat against Louisville at home as 14-point favorites and actually covered the spread late in the game against Stanford. Boy, oh boy, if you watched that or had that line, that was pretty impressive where Miami just kept running the football, even though they could have just taken a knee. Maybe getting some of that mojo back. The spread line for Miami SMU for you, Joe, is what?
Well, Donnie, tread carefully here because you had said it right off the bat there. This game opened up -10, double digits for Miami, who are about to go on the road and leave the state of Florida for the first time, Donnie, this year. And they're going to go to SMU, everyone's favorite, who just had their conference win streak blown up by Wake Forest, and they looked absolutely horrific doing so. But now we already know the history here of the Miami, the U, and going on the road and laying these big numbers. Like, do we trust Mario Cristobal all of a sudden to cover spreads like this, Donnie? You're a U guy.
Yeah.
Tell me how this goes from 10 to now I'm seeing 13 and a half in the marketplace. This could be the ultimate head fake. Everybody driving this up early in the week, Donnie, only to come back and take SMU at the peak of it come once the limits open up, which will be tomorrow or Thursday. I cannot believe what I'm seeing with this line.
The U on the road expected to win. Sometimes not the best scenario cooked up here, but Miami's still a top 10 football team, bounced back with a victory over Stanford. We'll see what they do this weekend. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party is set to be played once again in Jacksonville. Georgia versus Florida. The line in this game opened up, Joe, 7.5. We're still sitting at 7.5 right now, in a total of around 50.5. Florida with a fired coach. Fired up for this game to take on Georgia? What's the spread line here for you, Joe?
Well, it's interesting, Donnie. All right, so it opened up 7.5, and you're telling me it's still 7.5. I just told you Miami moved this line 3 points in 24 to 48 hours, and yet all I'm seeing is tickets on Georgia in this one, Donnie. So why is this line not moving? Well, it's not moving because there is significant respected money early here backing Florida, which is why this line is frozen right now, Donnie, at 7.5. So keep an eye on this one. Of course, 7 is a key number here, but right now it's not moving in Georgia's favor because there is significant sharp action holding it at 7.5 on Florida.
Can DJ Lagway pull off the upset? We will find out on Saturday. Also, another Saturday game in the SEC. It's a night game on Rocky Top. It's Oklahoma taking on Tennessee. This line opened up at 3.5. Most outlets now sitting at 3.5 and or 3, and a total of 56.5. A lot to be determined here in the SEC as you see both teams 6-2, needing victories to keep their playoff hopes alive. Oklahoma, Tennessee on Rocky Top. The spread line for this, Joe, is what?
I'm going to be keeping an eye on this line, Donnie, all week long here. You have an Oklahoma defense that is lights out, and we know that. And unfortunately, they couldn't get it done at home. Why? Because, well, Mateer and this offense is not that good. And it has not been that good now, unfortunately, for him. So we've got a better defensive team on the road getting points here. I think the public is going to run to the window and back Tennessee. I think they're going to pile on to Tennessee, especially after Oklahoma now has had a couple of defeats and the offense doesn't look good. I'm going to wait to see exactly where this line goes. If it grows any higher, Donnie, I am going to be looking to back OU here, but I think the public is absolutely going to jump all over Tennessee.
Public jumping on the Baltimore Ravens. Both of these teams rise from their graves last week with the Baltimore victory at home over the Bears, and then Miami, an ultra-impressive performance on the road in a dome, taking on the Atlanta Falcons. This game, talking about Baltimore as a favorite on Thursday night at -7.5 at most outlets and a total of 49.5. It does say TBD at quarterback for the Ravens, but the expectations are it will be Lamar Jackson. Tua feels good. Lamar feels good. Center stage on a Thursday. The spread line is what here?
Well, it's interesting, right? So the Dolphins, backs against the wall, right, destroy a lot of people's tickets and survivors around the country, Donnie. Absolutely blew them up. But this hasn't really moved the needle a whole bunch here, right? I mean, the line was 7 in the look-ahead market, 7.5. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Even though that we know Lamar wasn't healthy enough to go last week, but there is some obviously thought that he is going to be healthy enough to go this week. And yet we're still seeing the total locked in at 50 as well. We haven't seen any line movement in this. So what gives, Donnie? Is it Lamar is coming back and the Ravens are back on track? Or is this, the Dolphins are going to turn into a pumpkin again? I can't wait to see where this line moves during the week, because right now the market does not seem to be impressed on either side.
No, and also the binoculars are out from the NFL saying, like, what's that practice report going to look like today, Mr. Harbaugh? Let's keep everything on its P's and Q's right now. We'll find out Thursday night who wins that football game. But the Ravens, I guess, now look like they're going to win the AFC North because the Pittsburgh Steelers just don't look that good. Make it make sense. Sometimes it just doesn't. How about making sense of Toronto and Los Angeles? Yeah, that's the World Series. 18 innings last night in performance for a victory for the Dodgers. They take the series lead now 2-1 in that pivotal game, which they won last night. Now we flip it over to tonight. Bieber and Ohtani, still a heavy favorite in this game, up to a -200 at a lot of outlets in a total of 8.5. I'm going to ask you two spread lines, Joe. One for the game tonight, one for the series, which sees a -500 price point for those Dodgers.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the last time we saw Ohtani pitch, Donnie, it was maybe the performance of a lifetime. Strikes out 10 guys, hits 3 home runs. No big deal. Only the fact that he was on base 9 times last night, too, as well, sets another World Series record. But I got to tell you, both teams emptied it last night, and now they got a game here tonight. So that means both of these starters are going to be asked to do a few more innings than maybe usually here tonight. Keep an eye on his line.
Let's talk more baseball next. World Series, Ohtani. Come on now.
They got to go win and execute, and they can't be inconsistent. And that's the thing. It's like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, really consistent. And then who is that fourth question mark? And there's been inconsistencies throughout. Hey, Michigan goes out to the West Coast and gets manhandled, and then they come back and then they win. Like, who's the consistent one that is the fourth?
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to have bet tracking for the first time. If you have a FanDuel account, you'll be able to track your bet on the Prime Video games. And tonight, if you are part of the ESPN Mega Content Service, we understand from an organization called Antenna that 2 million people at least have the ESPN Mega Content or Unlimited service. You will be able to track your bets also on tonight's NBA coverage. So this is the beginning of a major new era for basketball on television.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Marchand said, they're all a bunch of dirtballs, so I fit in with them. You know what I mean? Remember, like, the Phillies baseball team, like with Kroc and Dykstra and all those guys? Like, yeah, they're just a bunch of dirtballs, right? And that's what the Panthers are. They're all the same. Like, they're all like to drink. They're all tough. They're all dirty in the corner. You know what I mean? They'll all do whatever it takes to win, but that's why they've won 2 cups in a row.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
For him and Cignetti are the most Spurrier-like personalities, Spurrier-like head coaches, and Cignetti's locked up. And you know what? And Ole Miss could very well lock Lane Kiffin up, but he will always be a fighting under. At Ole Miss, you will always be a little bit of an underdog because of your play. At Florida, you don't ever have to be an underdog because of their resources.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
What were you doing last night, late night on the East Coast? Were you watching an unbelievable epic performance between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays? 6-5 victory for the Dodgers as Freddie Freeman walks it off late into the night in that LA sky, and that place was bedlam, and now they have a 2-1 series lead. But my questions also start with, to the victors go the spoils. The Dodgers are happy. How about this? Here's Schneider on the loss last night for the Blue Jays.
I'm wondering, I think it was the 7th inning, you guys had a mound meeting before Ohtani came up. Could have walked him then, chose not to. Obviously, you're willing to do that later on. I'm wondering why it didn't make sense in the 7th and why it made more sense to you later on.
Mound visit, it's we're trying to pitch around him. You know what I mean? And you trust Sir Anthony to make pitches to do that. And sometimes for pitchers, it's hard to do that, when you're kind of trying to throw a ball and didn't put it where he wanted to put it. But, he had a great game. He's a great player. But I think, after that, you just kind of take the bat out of his hands.
And not to give away secrets, but this is pretty much what we should expect going forward.
Yeah.
That's simple answer right there, Joe. Simple.
Yeah. Well, listen, I guess it took teams a little while to understand, just put Barry Bonds on first base. Stop pitching to him, please. Please don't pitch and let Barry Bonds or Ohtani beat you. So the fact that he did it, Donnie, I could not believe they were going to pitch to him up a run. The one guy you can't allow to beat you, you just allowed to beat you. And he did it all night last night.
Yeah, his unbelievable performance. And also just talking about, again, the victors go the spoils, which the Dodgers, you expend all that energy, you want a result. They got that result. So many times in sports, and this isn't just a regular season game, it's a tough one. This is the World Series. You know the statistics, Joe, as well as I do. The winner in a 1-1 tie in a 7-game series takes that 2-1 series lead. It's an astronomical advantage in your favor, and the Dodgers got that last night. So if we do flip forward and just say to tonight's game's action, what are the expectations for the Blue Jays in this one? Exhausted, angry, upset they lost. You can't go down 3-1, but it just, you wake up this morning tired. It's like, is it a bad dream? Do we actually lose in 18 innings? Such a tough way to go down with that solo home run in the bottom, yes, of the 18th inning.
It was just crazy. But now, listen, you've got one of the better pitchers that we've had over the last decade in Bieber going here tonight, who is rested, Donnie, so it shouldn't be an issue for him. You need him to go out and be classic Shane Bieber. That's what you need. You need him to go out there, keep the ball in the ballpark, on the ground, mix it up, and more than anything else, Donnie, they need some length out of him. That he can't get into trouble in the 3rd and 4th inning, because both of these teams are in trouble if these starters have to get pulled early. So they're going to need Bieber, and the Dodgers are going to need Ohtani to give him some length here tonight.
And here's the difference, too, locked in and being engaged in the game, right? Shane Bieber's a pitcher. He didn't run last night. He didn't have 10 at-bats at the plate. He didn't get on base 9 times. He didn't have to go up there with the stress of every single at-bat trying to end that baseball game. He's rested and ready. You take a look at Ohtani, who played all 18 innings last night and reached base 9 times. He's got to pitch today. Yeah, he's a freak athlete, and he's stellar. But Shohei Ohtani after the game basically saying, man, I just want to go home and get to sleep and rest up for this game that we're going to have tonight. And also, you're not getting any favors. Last night, the Dodgers were basically a -200 favorite. Looks like they're probably going to wind up in that range again tonight with a similar total, Joe, of 8 to 8.5. Ohtani, it's hard to bet against him. I just want to see how Toronto comes back, because is anybody going to fault them for getting beat 6-1 tonight? We gave everything we had in that game number 3, and we came up a little bit short. We just weren't able to recover for the series, Joe.
Well, it's so funny, too, because Schneider just gave it away, too, right? So if I'm Ohtani, listen, I don't really have to worry about swinging the bat here tonight, because you won't be. You will be on first base every time you come up to the plate, and they'll be walking you. So at least he can concentrate on the pitching tonight, because he'll never be in a situation where they're going to make him swing that bat.
And let's just say, in this playoff run, it hasn't always been like Ohtani's, getting 6 base hits every 2 games combined. He really struggled at the start of these playoff series. But in the biggest moments, he just continues to provide, he did what? How did he do that? Oh, it's no surprise. He's going to pitch tonight, Joe. What are your expectations for Ohtani? Is this a short work, or could we see 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, and the greatest baseball player we've ever seen in the biggest moments showing up again?
The guy is Haley's Comet, dude. You get a guy like this, comes around once every, 100 years. And I have no doubt he is going to dominate on the mound again tonight.
Joe, speaking like he was talking about Marcus Mariota out there, little Haley's Comet. No, we weren't. It was Patrick Mahomes, and we'll talk about it next.
very young team outside of Durant. They're going to be an impossible out in a 7-game series, and I'm predicting it right now. If the seeding lines up, you are getting the Thunder and the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. There's not another team in the West that's going to be as good as the Rockets are when we get to playoff time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
I don't want people to stop discounting how good of a coach Rick Carlisle is, and I think they're going to find a way to get it done. I think they're going to be better than people think, and I also think if that's the case, then I'm fading someone in that division. You know who I'm fading, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks, who have now cut 2 players this year so that they can bring back both Antetokounmpo to play with Giannis.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, you know, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right, but there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Monday Night Football, which usually rules on Monday night, specifically when the Kansas City Chiefs are going to play. Maybe if we have Jaden Daniels, a little bit more hype, but we did have a double-digit spread last night in a total of roughly 47.5. And it wasn't any surprise. I'll tell you what it was, though, is first time in the career for Patrick Mahomes, first 2 possessions, throwing 2 interceptions. Now, granted, both of those were very nice. The first one was a very nice play on the sideline, but also Travis Kelce tipping the ball up the air over the middle. Things weren't looking good if you had the over, and they certainly didn't end good in a 28-7 victory with the Kansas City Chiefs. But the offense and Patrick Mahomes awoke in the second half. 3 touchdown passes by Mahomes, who finished with 34 passing attempts, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns, and those 2 interceptions. The better team last night was the Kansas City Chiefs. You give the Commanders a little bit of respect for fighting in the first half, but the bottom just fell out. Marcus Mariota just not good enough. Joe, you pointed out to start the show, running the football wasn't in the cards for Washington. 20 carries, 60 yards in that game, which 28 of those, your leading rusher was Marcus Mariota. The Chiefs win by 3 touchdowns and cover easily.
Yeah, and it really was a tale of 2 halves for Kansas City, Donnie. I mean, that was what it was. And give credit to the Commanders' defense. They did a great job in the first half, kind of frustrating Mahomes. Kansas City made a bunch of stupid mistakes early on, kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple of times. But in the second half, I mean, that was just right at the first 3 drives out of the locker room. Touchdown, 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 game over. And that was the end of that because you kind of knew Kansas City, they were going to be up against it. Washington was going to be up against it, Donnie. They weren't coming back from double-digit deficit at all.
Yeah, 25 completions for Patrick Mahomes last night. Travis Kelce, 6 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown. And Rashee Rice, coming back off that suspension, looks like that number 1 wide receiver they need. 9 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy, 5 for 53. So the guys that you expected to catch passes and score touchdowns, they were doing that last night for the Kansas City Chiefs. And also with Washington, they dropped to 3-5. Marcus Mariota's a backup. Yeoman's work last night, but just not good enough. That's a good Steve Spagnuolo defense on a tough place to play on a Monday night, one of the best home field advantages in football. Typically, you need to run the football to sort of quell that crowd and slow the game down. And by the way, Washington probably felt fantastic, Joe, at they had 7-7 with Kansas City in the second half. Let's see if we can steal this game. But the one thing you were excited for is the wide receivers coming back for the Washington Commanders. Terry McLaurin, 3 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. You'll take that. But Deebo Samuel, absolutely nowhere to be found. 3 catches, 11 yards, and he turned the football over, getting in the face mask with an easy pass that should have been a gain because you just throw a screen pass, turns into an interception. Washington just wasn't good enough, and those were the expectations last night. Double-digit underdog, got hammered last night. They're licking their wounds. They continue to lose games as they wait for maybe Jaden Daniels to come back and save their season.
Well, not only are they losing games, Donnie, they're losing players again. I mean, last night they lost their left tackle, Laramie Tunsil, with a hamstring. Terry McLaurin, we welcomed him back. Guess what? He left early. Quad injury there in that game as well. So, I mean, they keep piling up there, and the defense, they're good enough to be competitive in a half, Donnie, but asking this Washington team with backups now in key positions on both sides of the ball, it's going to be a Jaden Daniels or no Jaden Daniels. And we talked about it, right? This week saying, listen, this is not a good Commanders team. So take your time getting him back to 100%. I don't think there's would he have done anything more than what we got from Mariota last night? I don't think so with that cast of characters.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because I saw I went to bed before the second half started, so I saw that toe tap touchdown to make it 7-7. I had no idea he left right after that. That's devastating because once you understand this, you have that quad injury. He waited extra long to come back. Even a slight re-aggravation of that, that's probably weeks at this point. Deebo Samuel coming into that game also, Joe, fighting that heel issue. He just doesn't look right now. And you're waiting for your quarterback who has a hamstring injury to come back. Just sometimes it isn't in the cards for your football season. And maybe that's the Washington Commanders this year. But also, looking at the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward, they now sit at 5-3. Everybody's like, hey, system's back, all good. They do have 3 losses, Chargers, Eagles, and Jaguars. But this team is getting healthier at the right times right now and starting to function on all cylinders on offense. But how about this stretch of games coming up? At the Bills, at the Broncos, home to the Colts over the next 3. Let's see what Kansas City really is made up coming up here.
Well, to me, listen, Mahomes should be the story, right? I mean, it's unbelievable with the weapons and the offense, but he did throw 2 picks in that first half. Not necessarily his fault because, once again, bounces off of Kelsey and goes into the defender's arms. But it's this defense, Donnie, of the Chiefs that is kicking it into another gear. Maybe we should be spending more time talking about the Chiefs defense, who now, I believe, back-to-back games allowing 7 points or fewer, and they haven't done that since that crazy defense back in, 2019. So this defense is rounding in to be one of the best in the NFL. And that's a very dangerous combination, that's for sure.
No, it certainly is. And also, you take a look here from that Washington perspective. Just talked about that schedule coming up here for the Kansas City Chiefs. For losers of 4 out of 5 games, Washington, Seattle at home, and then also the Detroit Lions at home. 2 tough games in a row where they're still waiting to get their quarterback back. And also, again, when Terry McLaurin re-injures that quad, he says he's fine. With athletes always say they're fine after a game. If you're so fine, why did you leave the game at that point when it was close on, right? So there's probably more of an issue than we understand at this point. But how about this also? Like, if you are playing on Monday Night Football and you know there's a World Series game, you probably say, you know what, let me just keep tabs on that game while we're actually playing the football game. Hey, look at that. I see on the monitor up there. Look at that. The 4-4 game at this point. That's interesting. How about Washington flying home, basically saying, yeah, we can sit back, chill, and watch this entire baseball game while we're on the plane. Here's the tweet. Monday Night Football started 15 minutes after the World Series tonight. The Commanders played their entire game and then had a 45-minute flight delay, and they were halfway home while watching the World Series still on the plane. That's how long that game went.
Forever, Donnie. I mean, absolutely forever. And yet a lot of the NBA guys on the West Coast were all watching it. Guys on the East Coast, your boy Embiid was all over it with Freddie Freeman last night when he walked it off. So the entire sports world was all involved in that game to the wee hours of the morning. That's for sure.
Yeah, certainly were. A 28-7 final in Kansas City. And again, this game's 7-7 at the half, but Kansas City, the better football team in the second half. I'm just interested to see how this team moves forward. Now, if they continue to stay healthy, Steve Spagnuolo, one of the best defensive coordinators in football. That defense over the past 3 games really starting to play. I'm interested now to see, okay, Kansas City, you had your run of home games. Now take this show on the road to see if they can add up, because I'm always of the constant look at Kansas City's team total last night, at least on FanDuel, was 29.5. Some other outlets, 30.5 at plus money. They scored 28. But this is also one of those games where they probably could have scored even more in the second half if they needed to do so, but their defense has been so good. So I'm wondering what Kansas City is going to do once you get a running mate, because we haven't seen that for a couple weeks now. But I look at Kansas City right now, 5-3, throw that record out. First couple games of the season, banged up, injured without being 100% on offense. Now they're 100% on offense, and they're starting to look like a well-oiled machine, Joe, on offense and defense at the right time.
Very scary. And I think this game coming up against the Bills is going to be interesting because, now they're on a short week, right? The Bills aren't. They got to travel. And this is not the same old Bills team, Donnie. This is a Bills team that is now built to win in December and January by running the ball down your throat. We're going to see how good this Kansas City defense is, especially against the run, I think, in this game coming up.
Fun game nonetheless. And also Kansas City sitting at 5-3, knowing what that schedule is, and also some really good competitors in their own division. Only a -125 to win that division. The Broncos just behind them at a +240 price, then the Chargers at a +330. So that's an interesting number to look at. Are we still looking at this as the Chiefs division to win as the slight favorite? What do you think? Like, hey, man, maybe this next couple game stretch is going to separate it, and maybe the Denver Broncos can sort of step into that mold.
Got to get Patrick Surtain healthy. You got to get him back. Otherwise, that's a big ask for sure. But I'll tell you what, Mahomes for MVP is alive and well.
MVP. Who are they saying that about? Mahomes and Tyrese Maxey? Could they be saying that? Let's talk some NBA. What's going on the hardwood tonight, people?
Very young team outside of Durant. They're going to be an impossible out in a 7-game series, and I'm predicting it right now. If the seeding lines up, you are getting the Thunder and the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. There's not another team in the West that's going to be as good as the Rockets are when we get to playoff time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
I don't want people to stop discounting how good of a coach Rick Carlisle is. And I think they're going to find a way to get it done. I think they're going to be better than people think. And I also think if that's the case, then I'm fading someone in that division. You know who I'm fading, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks, who have now cut 2 players this year so that they can bring back both Antetokounmpo to play with Giannis.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Networks right now hate the East Coast, Joe Ranieri. Why? Well, it wasn't their fault last night. 8 o'clock start, which is what you should start a World Series game. Actually went 2 games last night with 18 innings. So good luck to anybody on the East Coast that actually tried to stay up and watch that epic finish. Most people probably weren't able to do so. So it brings me up to the next choice here. The Clippers and the Warriors are going to take place today. And yesterday, the Warriors did play on their home court and picked up a victory. Now they're on a back-to-back against the Clippers, who weren't on a back-to-back last night. This game, Joe, 11 o'clock tip time tonight and a slight favorite towards the Clippers and 224.5 as a total. I guess they just say, we do not want anybody on the East Coast to watch this basketball game. Let's bury it at 11 o'clock. Who wins that one? Clips, Warriors.
Well, the good news for the Clippers and the Warriors is when this game is over, they'll still have a chance to watch the World Series game because likely that game is going to go another 20 innings or so here. But listen, the Warriors got it done last night here. Interesting enough, this looks like they're going to have Al Horford back. He was held out last night. A couple of guys were held out for the Warriors last night. So they were looking ahead to this spot here against the Clippers, who this is one of the lower totals, Donnie, in a league in which we have seen nothing but overs for the first week. And I think that tells you everything. You got a Clippers team that's very veteran laden. They have no interest in running up and down the court. And neither are the Warriors on the second of a back-to-back. So this feels very much like the under of the night.
Back-to-back for the Philadelphia 76ers. They'll be on the road tonight to take on the Washington Wizards. This line opened up slightly as a 5-point favorite for the Sixers. It's come down a little bit, 4s and 4.5s in the marketplace now, but look at that total. We just talked about a game around that 224.5 number. The Sixers and the Wizards as high as 238.5 in the marketplace. The young guards for the Sixers bouncing around the court. They'll take on Washington tonight. What do you think gives in this game, Joe?
Maxey and Edgecombe are just, I love this Philadelphia team when Embiid is not on the court. When Embiid is on the court, Donnie, it is not a good situation here. He slows everything down. This is a team with those really long athletic wings who like to get up and down the court. They are much better with him on. Now, this is the Wizards, who are likely going to be, again, one of the worst teams in the NBA this year. So this is the best chance for Embiid to get back on track. The line had grown, Donnie, I think, to about 5, maybe 5.5. I could only look at the Sixers in this spot, and the total just under 240. The Wizards are going to like to run. Embiid's not. I'm wondering how many minutes he actually gets here tonight in this game.
Yeah, we'll see. There's probably still a minutes restriction on Embiid coming into the season here. Probably no more than 20 to 25 minutes if he gets that far, just to try to work him back in shape. A little slim down Embiid. He better be slimmed down to run with some of those electric guards that the Sixers have certainly been showcasing over the first couple games of this NBA season. Milwaukee tonight, Joe. An 8 o'clock start. That's going to be the New York Knicks and the Milwaukee Bucks. A slight favorite to the road team. The New York Knicks at about a -1.5, depending on where you're shopping at in the total. That's listed at 228.5. Bucks. Knicks, live from Milwaukee tonight.
Yeah, this should be good. Both teams have the same rest here, and both are coming off. The Knicks lost to Miami in that last game. Cleveland ended up beating the Bucks, so both teams looking to bounce back, but this should be a fun game. The Knicks, too, tempo-wise, they've been playing a lot of guys. They've been scoring some points. The Bucks can absolutely go at it and score. I think maybe we're going to get a few more points here than what the total indicates. It's just under 230, Donnie, and I'm not buying it. I think points are coming in this one.
Champs, center court tonight. Sacramento Kings in town to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. If we look at this game and tip-off at 8 o'clock, it's a heavy favorite. No surprise to Oklahoma City. Listed across the board at -10.5 and a total of 227.5. OKC loves to play themselves some overtime games. Can the Kings come to town, who I believe used to be the Kansas City Kings here, pull that upset, Joe?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, they played last night, did not cover, by the way. They did win, but did not cover against Dallas, who was on the second of a back-to-back. Chet Holmgren has been questionable in the last couple of games, but has played. I'm wondering if they're going to hold him out in this game here tonight at home. Listen, the Kings, again, not going to be a great team this year by any stretch of the imagination. But know who's playing in this game for the Oklahoma City Thunder before you run and lay double digits, because Chet Holmgren might be sitting this one out.
How about sitting this one out? You're probably going to not want to sit this one out, as I like to say, because you have the highest total of the night peaking in, Joe, at 241.5. What game is that? The Charlotte Hornets going to go down to South Beach to take on the Miami Heat. Tip time 7:30. A Heat game with a 241.5, Joe.
Donnie, I was laughing with you, Tom. I'm like, man, I have not seen this version of the Miami Heat in a very long time. And this version of the Miami Heat is going to run up and down the court, and they are going to get good shots, efficient shots, and they're going to make it, making nearly about 50% of their shots right now here, Donnie. Miami has scored 382 points this season. That is the most by any Heat team after the first 3 games here. They are flying, and they're getting great contributions from the young guys on this team. But don't sleep on Charlotte. I love Charlotte. They're another team that is going to run up and down the court here with Ball and company and Bridges. They've got some guys that can flat out shoot as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to sweat out an under in this game, Donnie, in any way, shape, or form. It opened at 237. It's already at 241.5, and I don't think that's high enough.
By the way, taking a look at some of those games that did play last night, some of the headlines, right? OKC 101-94 over the Dallas Mavericks. They're going to play it back-to-back tonight. But the Mavericks, Cooper Flagg, 31 minutes, 1 of 9 from the floor, 2 points, and a -20 here. Are we worried about Cooper Flagg? Is it too early to worry about this young kid? Couple stinkers thrown in the first couple games here.
I mean, the kid is 18. He's playing back-to-backs. You've got to get – he's playing point guard because Kyrie Irving's not back. I think once Kyrie gets back on the court, things will level out. He'll get into a more comfortable role there, and Kyrie will help him. It'll all be good. But in the meantime, Donnie, you're going to have your peaks and your valleys with this kid. It's going to be like that all year long.
How about a valley for the Lakers? Already without LeBron James. We don't know when he's coming back with the sciatica. Luka Doncic down for at least a week. They get beat last night, but hey, you know who's having fun out there? Austin Reeves gets to do whatever the hell he wants. Fun times in L.A., people. Keep an eye on those 2-2 Lakers. Get some of those superstars back here. Let's talk some NFL news and notes next, right here on the Early Line.
They got to go win and execute, and they can't be inconsistent. And that's the thing. It's like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, really consistent. And then who is that fourth question mark? And there's been inconsistencies throughout. Hey, Michigan goes out to the West Coast and gets manhandled, and then they come back and then they win. Like, who's the consistent one that is the fourth?
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to have bet tracking for the first time. If you have a FanDuel account, you'll be able to track your bet on the Prime Video games. And tonight, if you are part of the ESPN Mega Content Service, we understand from an organization called Antenna that 2 million people at least have the ESPN Mega Content or Limited service. You will be able to track your bets also on tonight's NBA coverage. So this is the beginning of a major new era for basketball on television.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Marchand said, they're all a bunch of dirtballs, so I fit in with them. You know what I mean? Remember, the Phillies baseball team, like with Croc and Dykstra and all those guys? Like, yeah, they're just a bunch of dirtballs, right? And that's what the Panthers are. They're all the same. Like, they're all like to drink. They're all tough. They're all dirty in the corner. You know what I mean? They'll all do whatever it takes to win, but that's why they've won 2 cups in a row.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
For him and Signetti are the most Spurrier-like personalities, Spurrier-like head coaches, and Signetti's locked up. And you know what? And Ole Miss could very well lock Lane Kiffin up, but he will always be a fighting under. At Ole Miss, you will always be a little bit of an underdog because of who you're playing. At Florida, you don't ever have to be an underdog because of their resources.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
We just had Monday Night Football. We just had an epic 18-inning Major League Baseball game, but the pages keep turning here. It is a Tuesday, and before you know it, we'll be on a Thursday night football game in Miami between the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. This line currently sits as a 7.5-point favorite for the road team, Baltimore Ravens, in a total of 49.5. The question in this game, though, is are we going to get Lamar Jackson? And also, what version of Lamar Jackson are we going to get? He's expected to start Thursday, but from the information that we get from the Baltimore Ravens, we can't trust anything. Ari Mirov tweets, the Ravens head coach John Harbaugh on Lamar Jackson, quote, I feel very confident about it. I expect him to be out there Thursday night. We thought he'd be out there on Sunday, Joe. How about that?
Yeah, well, a little too late here, Harbaugh, right? I mean, we can only believe half of what you're saying. Does he practice? Does he not practice? But it does appear, though, and he'd be crazy to open up that can of worms and then be like, nope, sorry, he's not, can't do it. I think he goes here. I'm very interested, though, Donnie, because we talked about it in the spread lines. And we're not seeing a lot of movement one way or the other here. I mean, if he is, maybe the market is just being like, I'm not doing anything in this game until I know 100% sure who the quarterback is going to be. But I got to tell you, even if it's Snoop Huntley, with what he showed me against that Miami defense, I still would be looking at the Ravens in this spot.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what we're getting out of Lamar Jackson. Like, if he wasn't able to go on Sunday, he said now 100% because you gave him 3 extra days off for the next week. That's something certainly to keep an eye on here. In Miami, with the good vibes after finally a solid performance on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see what happens. Both of these teams in the doldrums, but it just looks like the Ravens really have a chance possibly to get healthy and win that division, where the Miami Dolphins just trying to stave off elimination of their quarterback, their head coach, and a couple players on the team before the trade deadline hits. Now, let's get to an important informational story out of Philadelphia. Cam Skattebo went down, got a standing ovation from the Philly crowd, ushered off to a hospital, got surgery. Big Dom, the Philadelphia Eagles head of security, man, he did the right thing here, because I'm telling you right now, Big Dom brought down cheesesteaks from Angelo's and pizza from Angelo's to the party. Now, you see those two pictures right there on the graphic. That looks like a quality slice. But that cheesesteak, that's not from Angelo's from the picture there to the right. When you get the Whiz Wit, that's probably coming from Geno's and or Pat's. No way he was bringing Geno's or Pat's over to Skattebo and his family at the hospital. You know it was Angelo's, a high-quality cheesesteak. Let me tell you this. You could be down in the doldrums. You could be losing your bets. You could have a broken ankle. Somebody shows up with a really good pizza and cheesesteak, that brightens your day. And that's exactly what Big Dom did for the Skattebo family. How about that?
Outstanding stuff. Class act all the way around. We'd expect nothing less from Big Dom there, right, Donnie? I mean, it's he's been known to do things like this in and around the city and around the team. So good guy. And I don't think anybody had to coax him to do it either.
No, I'm telling you right now, like, that guy's the no. You want your tickets fixed there from the police department. You want a guy that's going to clean up a mess at night. It's Big Dom. You want good pizza? It's Big Dom right here. And also, some people are getting upset saying, like, when Saquon Barkley's done it a couple years, maybe Skattebo comes to Philadelphia, just greasing those skids because of how good a time that Skattebo was shown, even with the injury there at the hospital. But I got to tell you right now, you get ruined for life. You get an Angelo's cheesesteak and a pizza. You don't want anybody else's cheesesteaks or pizzas here. So be careful what you wish for when you get that pizza, because you always want that quality slice and certainly that quality cheesesteak back at it here. How about this? Surtain out a couple weeks. This is devastating. Like, Denver is turning the corner on, can they be a great football team? Can they sustain success? Comeback victory over the Eagles, wax the Dallas Cowboys. And now we find ourselves with maybe the best player in football on their side of the football field. That's cornerback Patrick Surtain, down for multiple weeks here.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, the guy is a absolute shutdown corner. He's going to make life difficult for any offense and take away the best weapon. And now he is not going to be available. So that's a problem, I think, moving forward. You can't understate how much he means to that defense there. We're talking about one of the defensive player of the year candidate. He is that good, and he will be missed. They just gotta hold the fort down, Donnie, and it's kind of hard to do since you got to chase down, Kansas City here at some point. But hopefully he gets back in 100%.
Holding down the fort. That's what Wentz tried to do, despite his entire upper body exploding. And by the way, I did have a team total last week that had the Minnesota Vikings. I would have liked to know an exact injury report of what actually was going on with Carson Wentz, because I was like, oh, he's going in for surgery. Well, what's his shoulder banged up? No, his whole upper body exploded, but we just wanted to tell you about the shoulder. Makes me mad, Joe. It does.
Yeah, it really does. I feel terrible, though, for him, right? I mean, that poor guy, Donnie. He was on the couch, and then just like, all right, I'll come in, I'll help you. Oh, jeez.
What could have won? The Prince of Philadelphia now getting season-ending surgery in Minnesota. We'll be right back for hour number 2 next.